ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परं सुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि। ॐ Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasishtha, Nirvana Prakarana Purvardha. We are moving into section 32. Prior to that, the ending portion of section 31. Shiva, Lord Shiva, is imparting wisdom to sage Vasishtha. And for the purpose for all of you to listen to it. O sage, just as light reflects in a mirror and not in a stone, in the same manner, pure consciousness reflects in the subtle body, not in the physical body. Simple point that's being elaborated is to understand how does this pure consciousness play the role of jiva, individual soul. How does the sun play the role of a reflected sun? So in order to have reflected sun, you have to have a jar. Then you have to have water into it. The water is your chitta. Jar is your body identity. Identity with physical body. All this sustains the illusion of jivahood, the illusion of being individualized soul. Soul is not ever individual. From absolute point of view, the reality of the soul is Brahman, pure consciousness. Allegorically, like the sun, that Brahman is reflecting in the chitta, which is the entire mental set. And as long as chitta continues to sustain bhava pratyaya, as long as chitta continues to create projections, the soul goes after those projections. But through spiritual advancement, chitta comes to that type of tranquility that its projections no longer delude the soul. The reflected sun no longer is deluded that it is separate from the sun, and discovers I am pure chit, pure chaitanya, prajnanam brahma, aham brahmasmi. Therefore, when the subtle body, by subtle body in this context is being referred to Puryashtaka, embodied state is called Puri, as if you have gotten into a city. And your physical personality is Navadvara Grih, Pureg Dehi. Your physical body is the first basis. But behind your physical body is the subtle body, Linga Sharira, In the beginning, simple division is given between physical body and subtle body. The subtle body contains astral body and causal body. So keeping that in view, that subtle body is called Linga Sharira. The ingredients of Linga Sharira are described as in the form of Puriyashtaka. 8 factors go together to form your Linga Sharira. What are those? 5 root elements. They are called Panch Tattvas. 5 pranas. 4-fold mind. 5 senses, organs of perception. 5 organs of action. Then karma, kama and avidya. All these points go to form your subtle Linga Sharira or Puriyashtaka. It's just elaboration of the same fact that you have 3 bodies, physical, subtle, causal. So now instead of saying 3 bodies, you have 2 bodies. Physical and subtle plus causal, 1. Now it became 2. Simple mathematics. And the subtle plus causal is extended into these 8 factors. Section 32, consciousness involved in the process of embodiment. Now insight is being given. How does this pure consciousness, prajnanam, play the role of soul, individual soul, trapped in the world of birth and death? Lord Shiva continues, O sage, I will explain to you how this consciousness enters the body, implying how does this consciousness gets into embodiment and renders it active, renders the body active. Led by beginningless Maya, this consciousness enters the mind, which is tinged with numerous desires. Mind here relates to Chitta. And beginningless Maya is Prakriti. And then becomes identified with the body, the reflected self, trapped by the illusion that I am the pot, the whole pot. I am the body, which is the product of karmas. In fact, it is Maya Shakti that assumes the form of the senses, organs of action, and the world consisting of seer, seen, and sight. This is an important point. It is consciousness that is playing the role of seer, seen, and sight. Triad. Consciousness is never tired of creating triad. And the simplest way to understand is to study your own dream. How you are totally different from the dream world. But suddenly you slip into a world defined by 3 factors. The dream subject. There are countless souls, as it were, in your dream world. And you are one of the dream subjects. And you are in a world, dream world. That world also has its mountains, oceans, sunrise, sunset, birds, creatures, all things there. And your experiences of pleasure and pain. So all the three types of experiences in your dream, they are nothing but Maya. Because when you wake up, all vanishes. Consciousness dances through the manifestation of countless names and forms. So, speaking poetically, what's happening in your dream? Your own consciousness is not resting on the pillow. It is dancing. There's joy and a big festivity in the dream. And all that is happening because of Maya Shakti. Without the mind, the body becomes inert, like a wall of stone. All these points are repeats, but repeats will continue to be repeated, called Gada Parinyaya. However, with the operation of the mind, the body becomes active. Even as a stone is active when thrown in the sky. The relation between body and mind is being described. In the early stage, you see separation between the two, as the mind is playing with the body. In advanced stage, mind is the reality behind your body. It's not playing. In your dream, your consciousness is playing with a ball. But in waking state, that predicament is not there at all. There's no ball to play with. A piece of iron assumes a magnetic property when placed in conjunction with a magnet. So the relation between body and mind. See, once the mind comes to play its role through your physical body, how much change occurs in your body. Just like iron, which is just inert. But when it gets magnetic property, charged with magnetism, then that iron has such a subtle strength, you don't see it, but it can draw metals so easily. In the same way, individual soul, in conjunction with the Supreme Self, draws the mind and senses to itself. What's being described is Brahman is your reality, but you playing the role of soul as a reflected self in chitta, in the mental process. Having assumed a reflected condition, jiva, then what does jiva do? It draws to itself mind and senses. Every jiva is not exactly the same, because jiva is defined by karma. And depending upon different karmas, the quality of mind you possess will be different. One who has stupid karmas, the mind will be dull. That's the type of mind he draws to himself. And likewise, his senses will be like uncontrolled horses. So, what type of mind and senses you are drawing to yourself depends upon your karma. But your goal is not to be in that state, but to discover I am Brahman, free of karma. Then you are not drawing mind and senses. Otherwise, you go on drawing mind and senses and changing your body. This jiva has forgotten its essential nature. And therefore, though it is a reflection of the Absolute Self, it continues to suffer from ignorance, sleep, laziness, and other manifestations of inertia. The reality behind a reflected sun in a jar of water or in a vessel filled with water. The reality behind the reflected sun is the sun. But when you study the reflected sun, see how many changes the sun goes through. And if you imagine the reflected sun has forgotten its root, then think of a whole predicament. Here's how wonderful, cute babies are suffering from all this. And in this world of karma, ignorance is the root of your all miseries. Next, solace from your ignorance is sleep. But it's not a remedy for your maladies. It has its own role to play. Then there is laziness and many other characteristics of individuality develop. Just as a Brahmin who has fallen into evil association forgets his true identity and begins to behave like a Shudra. In the same manner, when this consciousness forgets itself through ignorance, all this allegorical. See, when you are dreaming, you have forgotten that you are a different personality. The term forget is to be understood in that way. Led by karma, you continue to develop illusion about your identity, forgetting all other identities you had experienced already. Using the allegorical description, having forgotten, I am pure consciousness. This soul, associated with mind and senses, becomes identified with the physical body. Under the influence of delusion, even great men have forgotten their own true identity and behaved in a degraded way. Having been identified with the chitta, the total mind process, consciousness imposes upon itself the afflictions and limitations of the chitta. Afflictions, kleshas, always remember, they are referred to 5 points: ignorance, egoism, attachment, hatred, fear of death. So same chitta that would reveal I am Brahman and lead you to ocean of bliss where you can dive into eternity. Same chitta keeps you into a world of turmoil, a thorny desert of terrifying, the desert that is the abode of terror. In the same manner, having been identified with the pranas, referring to how first you are led by your mind, but mind is intimately related to prana. The function in the mind, the motion in the mind is caused by prana. So prana and mind are interrelated. Therefore, in spiritual sadhana, pranayam leads to Raj Yoga, practice of meditation and samadhi. And other way around, as meditation, samadhi progresses, pranas come under control. And when they come under control, you study that in the form of Kundalini Yoga, how the Kundalini rises from the base, goes through various centers, all this in the realm of study of pranas. It develops the quality of keeping the body alive and operative. The jiva, conditioned by the mind and dependent upon the vital forces, operates the body in the same way as the wind acts upon a ship's sail and allows a stone to be carried in the boat. O sage, this chariot of the body is driven by the two oxen, mental energy and vital energy. Mind and prana are being highlighted. Then conditioned by the mind and identified with the vital forces, consciousness assumes the role of a jiva and enters into the world process. In other words, if you want to remove jivahood, you have to go through pranayam and control of mind. Mind and prana are interrelated. At times, it experiences the waking state. At times, it wanders in a dream state. At times, it abides in deep sleep state. Subtle operation of mind and prana continues in three states. From physical state, Jagrat, to dream, a change has occurred in your prana and your mental process. All these are subtle points behind it. In other words, led by prana and mind, soul experiences three states: waking state, dream state, deep sleep state. But while the soul is experiencing all this, at all times, the reality of the soul is pure consciousness. While the reflected sun is experiencing so many states, the real sun is absolutely untouched. Due to ignorance, it seems to wander through the experiences of waking, dream, and deep sleep, without renouncing its essential nature. Water assumes the role of waves, and the waves assume the role of foam. In the same manner, pure consciousness, without relinquishing its essential taintlessness, assumes the role of a jiva. And having intensified its ignorance, becomes increasingly dependent upon body and mind. This is pointing to Laya Chintan. You begin to understand body identity is your problem. But what is body? Body is subtle projection of your mind. So even while you are looking at your body, you are dissolving your body into a mind, mental level. Mind dissolving into deeper level of intuitive mind. Intuitive mind dissolving into Brahman. Or you can use Laya Chintan in more detail. When you look at the body, body is nothing but cells. Cells are nothing but Panchabhutas. Panchabhutas are nothing but Panchtattvas. You are studying it, but that doesn't mean your body is changing. Everything is as is. Look at a cloth in your hand. Now, first you saw the cloth, how wonderful is their silken dress and with so much name and story behind. Next stage, you're looking at threads. Next stage, you are looking at fibers that cause this thread. Next stage, you are looking at even subtler basis of the fiber. Go in this manner without tearing your clothes. That's called Laya Chintan. And end up Aham Brahmasmi. Having forgotten the glorious awareness of I am pure consciousness, and in turn, having developed the fictitious feeling, I am this mortal body, the jiva becomes miserably identified with the body. This identification crisis is beyond imagination. The real identity, I am the sun. Now, the identification crisis, I'm a reflected sun in a jar of water, in the house of a potter. All the world story of misery and battle and terror, good and bad, all that story is illusion. The reflected sun goes through all these illusions as if they are real. But the real sun is completely untouched. Just as a person who is afflicted with leprosy is unable to move his own limbs, in the same manner, when death begins to overpower the body, the jiva is unable to allow the pranas to sustain the life of the body. Then when the pranas cease to operate through the vital centers of the body is said to be dead. Then the mind, which survives the body. So in normal way of studying, your body dies, loses its awareness behind it. But then the soul doesn't. And the soul, along with Puryashtaka, the Linga Sharira, survives and plans to project another body. And this goes on endlessly until you attain enlightenment. It is ignorance which causes the formation of vasanas, or subtle desires in the mind. These vasanas bring about the operation of pranas to the vital centers of the body. In this way, the body is kept alive and conscious. The individual soul associated with Puryashtaka is led to repeated embodiment. The Puryastaka consists of 8 ingredients: ignorance, desire, avidya, kama, action, karma, the 5 senses, panch gyanendriyas, the 5 organs of action, panch karmendriyas, the pranas, the 5 elements, and the fourfold mind. First time I gave it the one way, the other one is table turn, the other. Just as shutting off a fan stops the blowing of the air, in the same manner, when the Puryastaka stops vibrating, the body dies. But as long as the lotus of the heart is set in motion by Puryastaka, so long the jiva continues to experience endless cycles of births and deaths. Impure vasanas continue to bind the soul to the wheel of births and deaths. However, pure vasana, arising in a mind that is not assailed by attachment and hatred, bring about the blessed state of liberation. Lots of wisdom is given in small statements. You need to have Shubha Vasana, pure Vasanas. Vasanas are subtle impressions operative through your chitta. Vasanas are like clouds. The cloud should be soft and lesser and lesser of opacity. Then that's called Shubha Vasana. It allows the wisdom, I am Brahman, to shine brighter and brighter. But Ashubha Vasana, Vasana supported by 5 kleshas: ignorance, staying ignorant. That's the biggest mistake in life. That I'm not going to details. It's a profound topic. That's the purpose of your life, to break down ignorance and to know who am I. As long as you do not have complete revelation of who am I, you are ignorant. And if you are satisfied with it, you are dull with it. So, do not condone ignorance. Follow the path of satsanga, etc., to dig down the veil of ignorance. But ignorance, that's first point. Egoism, ahamkar, raga, attachment, dvesha, hatred, abhinivesha, fear of death. These 5 tentacles of a big, terrible spider of klesha grips your chitta. And that type of chitta people experience through the process of evolution, spiritual movement, from beginning to end. You see the drama, how these kleshas are gradually sublimated. From klishta kleshas, klishta chitta, you get aklishta. Aklishta vrittis, thought waves of your mind that will flow along successful karma yoga. Same karmas will bring inspiration and a thrill in your heart. Similarly, bhakti yoga, same experience of cozy comfort with near and dear ones, which is in the realm of moha. Now it becomes a source of turning your mind to God more and more. It becomes thrilling. And the will that goes wild due to kleshas, that will turns towards Godward realization. May I attain God realization. May I integrate my personality, that type of will. So change in will brings a tremendous enrichment in your personality. And your reasoning, intellect, doesn't stay with collecting the data of so many things of this world, intellectual load, but intuitional revelation. So the same factors that hold on to kleshas, now they become all channels leading the soul to enlightenment. That's the difference between klishta vrittis and aklishta vrittis. And the change and transition is progressive. You can't suddenly, one day will be klishta, another day aklishta. It's a progressive movement. With the death of the physical body, the subtle body that is led by impure vasana continues to experience a heaven or a hell. The aklishta vasana means your soul will continue to have repeated embodiments. It is pure consciousness which has assumed the form of subtle body. But try to understand from profounder point of view, the entire Patya Puryashtaka, the 8 factors, they have come from pure consciousness, Brahman. And they are always nothing but Brahman. And it is through this Puryashtaka that pure consciousness enters into the dream of the world process. In the absence of enlightenment, this subtle body continues to give rise to numerous bodies, like bubbles arising in the waves of the ocean. The bodies arise in the waves of Puryashtaka, these repeated embodiments, led by your subtle body. Wise men do not have attachment to the body. This being free of dehadhyas, living with the body, attending on the body, and performing your duties through your body, and yet with increasing awareness, I am not the body. Healthy function of the body means you are not carrying the load of the body. Healthier you are, there is a decreasing body identity. And that you can see in daily life. When you're very joyous, etc., you don't know where your hands are, where feet are. They behold the self as the only reality which has given rise to the reflection of jivahood through the mirror of the chitta. When the mirror of the chitta is negated, the self is perceived in its innate glory. Section 33. The negation of multiplicity by spiritual inquiry. Practice of vichar. How should you practice vichar? Sage Vasishtha said, O Lord, how did duality or multiplicity arise in the eternal, infinite, absolute self? See, all these questions, answers are created for aspirants. This awareness of multiplicity is the main problem. First, to give you the general understanding that the self is ever the same, and all the multiplicity experience is in and through the self itself. But how does it happen? And how can a person move away from multiplicity and enjoy I am the Absolute? That's the question that a sadhaka must entertain in his heart. And the answer to the how is listening to the teaching, following the sadhana in an integral manner, in the manner of integral yoga. This awareness of multiplicity, Lord Shiva replied, O sage, though endowed with limitless powers, Brahman is ever the nature of existence absolute. How can unity or duality exist in Brahman? The talk of non-duality and duality from very advanced point of view. Everybody studying Vedanta ultimately ends up saying Brahman is non-dual. But even that non-dual is through a defective mind. Because neither duality nor non-duality are real. The non-duality exists because there is a duality. Duality exists because there is non-duality. Brahman alone exists. All differences are imagined by the unillumined mind. Where there is an utter negation of the world of multiplicity, there can be neither the possibility of unity nor of duality. The cause and its effect are both of the same essence. In your dream, you get into an accident, and there is a cause for the accident. The cause, the effect, and you cure the cause by going to a good mechanic. But all these are illusions. Nothing happens. But while in dream, you go through it as if real. So that's the predicament of soul conditioned by ignorance. That's the predicament of all countless souls existing in the world. The cause and its effect are both of the same essence. Brahman as the cause has manifested into this illusory world. When the illusion is removed, Brahman is realized as the only reality. It is pure consciousness which has assumed the names and forms of various objects. In fact, all these objects that abound in the world are in reality pure consciousness. In spite of the apparent multiplicity caused by illusion, the reality is ever the same. So with this we will conclude. The message is the reality is perfectly safe. So end up with a positive mind. Ram, 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 Ram. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. Om. Prayer for shower of Karunamaya Ras grace of God over all, and with the blessings of Shakti, Bhakti and Mukti. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukum Vabandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyama Mritat. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मां कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम हरि ओम तत्सत्।